I'd been in a secret relationship with my boss for 6 years. By day, I was her assistant, professional, efficient, invisible when necessary. By night, I was the man beneath her, the one she clung to in the dark, the one she used to satisfy every unspoken desire. At her birthday party, I teased her with a smile, refusing to let go until she finally gave in with a laugh and promised, "All right, I'll make it official. You'll have a name, a title." My heart surged with joy. But before that feeling could take root, I overheard laughter spilling from her office door. A friend's voice, sharp and mocking, cut through the air. "Seriously? You've stuck with the same boy toy for 6 years? Don't tell me you're actually falling for your assistant. Just a heads up, Henry's coming back soon. Don't let yourself get too attached." Anna Morgan chuckled, her voice low and lazy with amusement. "Please. If he didn't have the same build as Henry, I wouldn't have bothered hiring him in the first place. He's just a convenient distraction, a body, a toy. What's there to get attached to? Toss him some cash, he'll disappear." The hand I had raised froze in the air, then dropped limply to my side. I pulled out my phone, my fingers steady despite the hollow sinking in my chest. I sent a message home. "Keep arranging arranged marriages." "I agree." Only Anna would pick such a ridiculously hot guy just to blow off steam. "Gotta admire that," someone laughed. I heard she dropped a fortune to book the entire rooftop of a luxury hotel for his birthday. Thousands of red roses. Are you sure this is all just for show? You better not end up catching feelings. Anna Morgan smirked, pulling a lipstick from her clutch to touch up her makeup. "I've got money to burn if it means keeping a man happy. A few flowers? Just a small price to fool a naive little fool like him. Men out there are filthy. At least a fresh college grad still looks clean." "Come on, I've seen every kind of man out there," Anna said with a lazy scoff. "You think I'd actually fall for someone like him? If he didn't resemble Henry, I wouldn't have bothered playing along. Sometimes," she added with a slow exhale, "when I see how excited he gets over a cheap little gift, it really feels like Henry's standing in front of me again." Her friend leaned in, scrutinizing her expression. "You've kept this act going for 6 years just because he looks like Henry? You've slept with him 1,000 times by now. Don't tell me you've never caught feelings?" Anna furrowed her brow and shoved her friend away in mild annoyance. "Seriously? You think I'm that pathetic? He's not even close to my league. To me, he's no different from a male escort at a nightclub, just cleaner, that's all. That's the only reason I've kept him around this long. Just make sure none of you slip up tonight, I don't have the patience to coax a pet." Her words, light and careless, hit harder than any slap. The folder slipped from my hands, documents scattering across the floor. I scrambled to pick them up, each paper a sharper reminder of the truth, before retreating to the stairwell like a man running from a fire. After graduating college, my family had tried to push me into an arranged marriage with someone from the Collins family. I fought back with everything I had, and they cut off all my allowance to force me into line. Out of options, I sent my resume to Anna Morgan's company. She hired me the same day, said it was my photo that caught her eye. At work, she constantly blurred the lines between boss and something else, inching closer, crossing boundaries with a smile. But I stayed professional. I held that line, no matter how many times she tested it. Until one night, during a client dinner, a potential investor made me his target. He told Anna, straight-faced, that if she let me spend a night with him, she would sign any agreement I wanted, no conditions. It was the first time I saw her genuinely furious. She shattered her wine glass in front of everyone, glass flying, wine spilling across the table. She refused a $100 million contract because of me. For a moment, I thought I meant something to her. What a fool I was. Everything changed after that night. Something between us shifted, subtle at first, but unstoppable once it began. From that moment on, she took care of everything for me at work. Every obstacle, every challenge, I never had to lift a finger. All she asked in return was one thing, to keep being her secret lover. Anna had 1,000 ways to seduce someone. I didn't stand a chance. I gave in, completely, hopelessly. I waited 6 years for an answer, clinging to the hope that maybe one day, I'd be more than just her secret. But now I knew, it had all been a lie from the start. Her tenderness, her attentiveness, it was never meant for me. I was just a placeholder, a shadow of someone else. If that's all I ever was, then it was time I finally let go. Tears slipped down onto my phone screen as I typed out the message. "Let's go ahead with the marriage arrangement. I'm in." The reply came faster than I expected, a call from my mother. George? You're serious? You've agreed? Her voice trembled with excitement. The Collins girl's been waiting for you for 6 years. She's loyal, kind. This might have started as an arrangement, but once you marry her, I promise you won't feel trapped. I'll send you the wedding plans, she continued without pause. Just let me know what kind of tux you want. Anything you like. I listened in silence, her joy echoing in my ear while I stared blankly at the wall. Whatever. You decide, I said flatly. I need to submit my resignation anyway. I'll call you later. I hung up. And right then, Anna's voice came from behind me. Resignation? What resignation? She slipped her arms around me from behind, her hands moving habitually beneath my shirt. I quickly grabbed her wrist, steadying my tone. Nothing. Someone from the company's leaving. Anna never cared where anyone else was going. Her eyes landed on my face, intense, almost feverish with desire. The stairwell, we haven't tried that yet, have we? What do you say? If I hadn't just overheard her conversation with her friend, I might have believed her, believed that the emotion in her voice was real, that the passion between us meant something. But now, I didn't have the energy to play along anymore. We already did last night, didn't we? I said calmly. You've got that dinner party tonight. Go ahead, I'll sort out the contract. Anna just laughed softly, undeterred. Her tongue flicked against my ear in a teasing rhythm, her breath warm against my skin. How am I supposed to care about a party when you're right here, she whispered. I just want to stay with you forever, never let you go. She leaned in, slowly, her lips brushing closer to my cheek. I stepped back, putting space between us. Then let's get married, I said quietly. If you want forever, let's make it official. The moment the words left my mouth, her expression shifted, just for a second. A flicker of panic before she plastered on another practiced smile. Marriage? Where did that come from? She said lightly. Let's wait a few years. Things are crazy at work right now. I'd already made up my mind to leave, and I didn't feel like calling her out on another lie. The moment was ruined, and Anna, clearly bored now, turned and walked out of the stairwell to head to her dinner. I returned to my desk, slipping the contract into the drawer. That's when I noticed the safe, still slightly ajar, left unlocked in her hurry. Inside was just a single photo album. A chronicle of her college years with Henry, 4 years of memories frozen in time. I flipped through it in silence, my chest tightening with every photo. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed two people could look so alike. And yet, there he was. The original. And I was just his shadow. There he was, standing on stage, delivering a speech, confident, charismatic. She sat in the front row, eyes locked on him, waiting to present him with a bouquet the moment he stepped down. When he sang at a college event, she stood right in front of him, capturing every note through her camera lens. There was no physical intimacy between them in those photos, no kisses, no embraces. But the love in her eyes couldn't be hidden. It spilled out of every frame, impossible to ignore. The pages of the album had turned brittle, worn by time and the weight of longing. Yet his smile, bright, boyish, full of life, remained unchanged, frozen in every photograph. I remembered scrolling through Anna's social media years ago. There was one post that stood out, just a single word. Waiting. I'd once joked with her about it. What are you waiting for? She'd brushed it off with a smirk, never giving a straight answer. But now. I think I finally understood. I closed the album and locked the safe. Just then, a message popped up from Anna. She sent me the address for the party, asking me to come pick her up. I rushed over, arriving just as the doors opened and a chorus of gasps echoed from inside. Henry? When did you get back? You didn't tell anyone, you're not surprising someone in particular, are you? The room buzzed with excitement and teasing voices. And there she was, Anna Morgan, blushing like a schoolgirl discovering love for the first time. Even the tips of her ears turned pink. One of her friends leaned in, nudging her playfully before turning toward Henry. You probably don't know this, but after you left, Anna hired an assistant who looks just like you. She's been staring at him for years, trying to fill the void. It was honestly heartbreaking to watch. Another friend chimed in, patting Anna's arm before thumping her own chest with exaggerated sincerity. Seriously, don't get the wrong idea. I swear on my life, Anna's only ever had eyes for you. That assistant? He's just a stand-in, a distraction. If she ever treated you like you didn't matter, I'll be the first to say no. I'd asked myself many times, why? Why, when Anna had everything, power, wealth, status as the CEO of the entire Morgan Group, did she insist on keeping our relationship hidden in the shadows? She didn't need to. She could have been with anyone, openly and proudly. But now, it all made sense. In that moment, watching the way she looked at Henry, with such raw, unmistakable longing, I finally had my answer. My hand hovered over the doorknob, frozen in place, as laughter and chatter continued to pour out from inside. Her friends, eager to prove their loyalty, were practically shouting over one another. You have no idea, Henry, Anna's been buying everything you ever said you liked. Her place looks more like a department store than a home. If you hadn't come back, I don't think there'd be room for her to live. You once said you loved the Northern Lights, remember? Anna went out and bought the naming rights to 10 stars. I still have the article saved, want me to show you? What stars? It's Anna's infatuation with Henry. That cologne you've been using? It's sold out. Do you know why? Anna bought up every bottle. She said she couldn't stand other people wearing your perfume. Honestly, thank God you're back, maybe now you can attract her a little bit. Anna's face was flushed deep red, and she could only keep downing drink after drink to mask her embarrassment. Henry chuckled, a relaxed, easy smile on his face, but his eyes held something softer, something deeper. It's all in the past, he said with a gentle shake of his head. No need to bring it all up now. I pushed the door open. The moment I stepped inside, the room fell silent. The laughter, the warmth, it all froze midair. People glanced at one another, uneasy, before one of them gave Anna a nudge toward me. She had already had too much to drink, and she stumbled, falling right into Henry's shoulder. Someone began to introduce me. This is... But before they could finish, Anna cut in sharply, almost panicked. My assistant. He's just my company's assistant. My smile was faint, polite, and utterly empty. Nice to meet you, Mr. Henry. He studied me for a second, then offered a friendly smile. You look even better in person than in your photos. The room went quiet again, thick with tension. That one comment, light as it was, made everything just a little colder. Henry, trying to break the awkward silence, reached over and pushed the fruit platter toward everyone. Just as he picked up a fork, Anna, drunk and flushed, snatched it from his hand. Who ordered mango? She snapped, her eyes narrowing. Henry is allergic to mangoes. It wasn't an exaggeration, her house staff had strict instructions never to bring mango into the house. I knew that rule better than anyone. I remembered the time I'd casually said I was craving mango. She just gave me a cold look and said, you'd better know your place. But I was allergic to shellfish, and yet, every single date she planned was at a seafood restaurant. More than once, I'd ended the night in the ER with an 4 drip. And still, her choices never changed. It wasn't that she forgot. It was that I never mattered enough to remember. Henry laughed and gently took the fork back from her, brushing his fingers through her hair with practiced affection. Come on, Anna, he said softly. It's been 6 years, I'm not allergic anymore. Be good. Everyone's watching. And just like that, she fell quiet, like someone had flipped a switch. The defiant, sharp-edged Anna vanished, replaced by someone softer, almost submissive. Their friends burst out laughing, unable to hide their teasing glances. Only he can get Anna to heal like that, like training a puppy. I couldn't stay in that room any longer. I turned and headed for the bathroom, gripping the sink edge as I tried to steady the hollow ache in my chest. By the time I returned, Anna was a mess. Completely drunk, swaying in Henry's arms, holding him tight like she was afraid he might vanish again. Her voice was a broken whisper against his shoulder. You finally came back. I thought you didn't want me anymore. I've learned everything now, how to make you laugh, how to pick the perfect gift, how to say the right things. I even know how to make love the way you like it. Just don't leave me again, please. I can't live without you. Anna had collapsed onto the couch, drunk and flushed, her head lolling slightly to the side. Her friends didn't miss the moment, nudging her, laughing, stoking the chaos. Word is, Anna's been planning a proposal for days now, one of them teased. That diamond ring from the auction? She dropped $100 million on it. Henry, you're not planning to disappear again, are you? Henry leaned in close, his lips brushing near her ear, eyes soft and heavy with affection. Not this time, he murmured. I came back to marry her. Something in my chest detonated, loud and sudden, like a dam breaking apart from within. The pain didn't rush in, it exploded. Every shard cut deep, splintering through whatever was left of me. But I swallowed it down. All of it. I stepped forward with a calm, easy smile and gently took Anna's arm. "She's had too much," I said lightly. "I'll take her home." As I was about to leave, Henry approached with a casual grin and held out his phone. "Just in case," he said. "She can be picky when she's drunk. You might need this." He added me to his contacts, then continued, "When she drinks too much, the only thing that works is this hangover soup, none of the over-the-counter stuff helps. I'll text you the recipe. Make sure the water's exactly 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Too hot or too cold, and she'll wake up raging." I nodded silently and tapped accept. As we reached the doorway, Anna suddenly braced herself against a nearby column, trying to steady her swaying body. "Where's Henry?" she muttered, searching through the haze. "I need to take him home, he can't go alone." She rarely drank like this. Never lost control, never let herself unravel in public. But tonight, because of Henry, everything was different. No matter how high she'd climbed, no one ever truly replaced the boy she once loved. And now that he was back, it showed in every slurred word and drunken reach. I forced a smile and gently pulled her arm away from the column. "You're drunk," I said quietly. "Henry's got friends with him, he'll be just fine. Let's get you home." Anna scowled and jerked her arm from my grasp, stumbling back toward the venue. She barely took 2 steps before her body suddenly swayed, then collapsed to the side. I caught her just in time and helped her into the car. As I was fastening her seatbelt, her phone screen lit up. A new message popped up from a wedding planner. "Ms. Morgan, the proposal venue is fully set up. Just as you requested, no man could ever say no in a setting like this. When would you like to come take a look?" I stared at the message for a moment, then quietly swiped it away. "Let's go," I said to the driver, my voice low. As the car pulled away from the curb, I opened Henry's social media profile. Over the past 6 years he'd been abroad, Anna had never stopped sending him gifts. Fresh pastries outside his campus gate, snacks from his favorite stores, paintings he'd lingered near at auctions. On every holiday, she made sure something found its way to him. Every year on his birthday, she always had a business trip that I wasn't allowed to join. I used to think it was work. Now I knew, she was flying overseas. To be with him. His profile banner was still that photo from 6 years ago. Fireworks exploding behind them, lighting up the night sky. And in that image, her eyes were filled with the same unwavering affection. That love had never shifted. Not even once. Halfway through the drive, Anna stirred, vomiting twice before sobering up slightly. When she saw me beside her, she rushed to explain, her voice still a bit slurred. "Don't overthink it," she said quickly. "I just drank too much tonight. My friends were messing around, that's all. I'll introduce you to them next time. Properly." But there wouldn't be a next time. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. Before the silence could stretch further, her phone rang again. One of her friends. The voice on the other end was panicked. "Anna, it's bad. Henry was hit by a car on his way home. He's just been rushed into surgery. You need to get here. Now." Her eyes shot up in alarm. She immediately turned to the driver. "Turn around, now." But I reached forward and stopped her, my voice cutting through the chaos. "Wait. You're drunk," I said firmly. "You need to go home. You can check on him tomorrow." She yanked her arm free and turned to me, her expression suddenly cold. "And since when does an assistant get to tell me where I can or can't go? Driver, turn the car around. Take me to the hospital. Are you out of your mind?" I snapped, losing my composure. "You can't even walk straight. At least wait until you've sobered up." Before I could finish, her voice cut through mine like a blade. "If you hadn't stopped me earlier, Henry would have been home safe. He never would have gotten hurt." "George," she said, her tone sharp and final, "you're just my assistant. My private life isn't your business. Get out." The pain hit so suddenly, it felt like a fist to the chest, sharp, breath-stealing. Before I could process it, I was standing on the side of the road, soaked in dirty water kicked up by the speeding car she'd left in. I walked 5 miles in silence, down a dim, empty street, my shoes soaked, clothes clinging to my skin. Just as I reached my building, my phone buzzed. A message from Anna. She'd sent me the hospital's location. "Come over." My heart skipped, dread crawling up my spine. I thought something had happened to her. I immediately hailed a cab and rushed over. But when I arrived, I found her sitting quietly at Henry's bedside. A doctor stood nearby, gently trying to talk her down. "Ms. Morgan, he's stable. There's really no need to transfer him. Moving him right now could actually cause more harm than good. What kind of surgery can a small clinic like this even handle?" she snapped. "You think a few tests and a couple IVs mean he's in the clear? If anything happens to him because of this place, can you take responsibility?" The moment Anna caught sight of me from the corner of her eye, her tone turned sharp and commanding, no hesitation, no explanation. "You go to handle the hospital transfer procedures," she ordered coldly. "Contact the Morgan Group's private hospital. I want them to send a team over immediately to move Henry. And take $5 million from my account, buy him a Porsche. He just got back, it's inconvenient for him not to have a car." She didn't even pause before giving her next instruction. "Also, pack up your things from the house. Henry hasn't found a place to stay yet, so he'll be living with me for now. You can crash somewhere else for a few days, find a hotel or whatever. Just make sure everything's cleaned out. I don't want him seeing any trace of you." Every word landed with surgical precision. Clear. Cold. Unapologetic. There wasn't even enough pain left to feel. Just numbness, quiet and absolute. I said nothing, just nodded and carried out her every request. I completed the hospital transfer, wired the money, ordered the car. Then I went home. I didn't even bother packing. I dumped everything I owned into the trash. Then I sat on the couch until sunrise, staring into nothing. At dawn, I opened my laptop and submitted my resignation. It didn't take long for the news to ripple through the office. Some of my co-workers had always suspected there was something between me and Anna. Their messages came in one after another, thinly veiled with surprise. "You're resigning? Does Ms. Morgan know?" "Start looking for my replacement," I replied. "Tell her after someone's in place." They kept asking questions, what I planned to do next, where I was headed, whether I'd stay in the industry. But I couldn't hear any of it anymore. I gave a few vague answers, packed what little I had left, and checked into a hotel. By the time Anna sobered up, she sent me a message, an apology wrapped in sugar-coated words. "I've already bought a new riverside villa. Once it's cleaned up, you can move in. I'll come stay with you once things settle down. Henry still needs someone to take care of him these next couple of days. Just help me keep an eye on the company for now. I was drunk last night. Don't take it to heart. I'll bring you a little gift when we see each other, cheer up, okay?" It read like someone pacifying a pet, tossing treats to keep it obedient. Something to play with when she was in the mood. Something to discard when she wasn't. And just like that, any last flicker of hope I buried deep inside me, went out for good. I wasn't meant to live like this, a caged bird kept in the dark. For the next 3 days, Anna stayed by Henry's side at the hospital. She never once showed up at the office. I hired someone to replace me, trained them, and handed off every last task. Then I walked out of the place I'd worked for 6 years, without looking back. On my way to the airport, I opened Henry's social media again. 3 posts in 3 days. Every photo was a quiet, intimate portrait, Anna adjusting his blanket, bringing him soup, reading by his bedside. There was no overt intimacy, no touching beyond what could be excused as care. But the way she looked at him in every frame, the tenderness, the quiet warmth, it said more than words ever could. The captions were casual, but between the lines, it was all there, the unspoken affection, the soft indulgence, the kind of love she'd never shown me. I exited the app and sat in silence as the airport's boarding announcement echoed in my ears. And then, I sent her one final message. "Let's stop here, Dot. You've gotten what you always dreamed of. And it's time I go find my own life, too. Thank you for these 6 years. Don't worry, I'll keep our relationship a secret, just like I always have." I watched the message change to read. Then I deleted her contact. And walked toward my gate, toward a new life that, for the first time in years, felt like it might actually belong to me. In the hospital room, Anna stared at the message on her phone. She didn't move. Didn't blink. Just sat there, the words sinking deeper with every passing second. A friend came by to check on Henry, cheerful and casual, and snatched the phone from her hands with a grin. The moment she read the message, she let out a low whistle and laughed. "Well, congratulations, Anna," she said teasingly. "Finally got rid of that dead weight. Honestly though, your assistant was kind of a catch, handsome, quiet, didn't even ask for compensation. If you hadn't toyed with him for 6 years, I might want to pursue him. For once, Anna's expression darkened. Her tone dropped, sharp and cold. Don't you dare. The friend froze for a beat, eyes flicking from Anna's face to the sleeping Henry nearby. She grabbed Anna's arm and pulled her out into the hallway. What the hell was that? She whispered. That reaction was way too intense. He's just your ex-assistant, right? And you've practically got everything in place to propose to Henry. The venue's set, the ring's ready. You two haven't seen each other in 6 years, what are you waiting for? It was just a joke. Why are you so worked up? She added, narrowing her eyes. Unless, don't tell me you actually caught feelings for that guy. I'm telling you now, get your head straight. Henry came back for you. He gave up everything overseas to be with you. Don't mess this up by chasing something that was never supposed to mean anything. If you piss him off again, and he walks away this time, he's not coming back. You'll regret it for the rest of your life. Her words hit Anna like a poisoned blade, quiet, precise, and brutal. 6 years ago, it had started the same way. She'd been buried in work, tangled in company politics and board meetings. And she'd missed too many moments, brushed off too many phone calls. And Henry, he'd finally gotten tired of waiting. No matter how much she begged, how many nights she cried for him to stay, he'd left anyway. He left for his future. For graduate school. For a life that didn't include her. For a man as proud as Henry, coming back for her had already been a rare compromise. Anna knew that better than anyone. And she also knew, one more misstep, one more crack in the facade, and everything between them would shatter for good. But the message I had sent her, it sat heavy in her chest like a stone. It made the idea of a grand proposal, of confessing her love to Henry right now, feel impossible. She couldn't do it, not with those words still echoing in her mind. After a long pause, she finally grasped at an excuse, something that might justify the weight tightening around her heart. Can you find out where George went? She asked, voice low and almost distracted. I forgot to issue his end-of-quarter bonus. I mean, we worked together for 6 years. I'm not the kind of person who cheats someone out of their pay. It's not about the money, it's principle. Her friend stared at her like she'd lost her mind. Are you kidding me? It's a bonus, she scoffed. You've sent him enough gifts over the years to bankroll an entire lifetime. You think I don't know you by now? I've known you too long to fall for that crap. You've caught feelings for that assistant, haven't you? Her voice rose, frustration bleeding into concern. Let me remind you of something, why did you hire him in the first place? Wasn't it because he looked like Henry? Well, Henry's back now. So what the hell do you still need him for? You're losing it, Anna. You can't let Henry find out, whatever was going on between you two, it ends now. Do you have any idea what it'll look like if you start digging around for George again? You might as well hold up a sign telling the world you had something going on with your assistant. And what about Henry? What's he supposed to think? Anna felt her head spinning, everything tangled and messy, every thought running into the next. She didn't know what was happening anymore. Didn't know when everything had started slipping off track. Because yes, at the beginning, George had been nothing more than a stand-in. A body, a shadow. Someone to fill the space Henry left behind. Someone she could toy with, learn from, practice on, so when Henry finally returned, she'd be ready to give him everything he wanted. That had been the plan. But now, she wasn't so sure who she'd been preparing for. Or what, exactly, she'd lost in the process. But now that George was gone, quietly, without a fight, without even a proper goodbye, Anna found herself overwhelmed by a strange, tangled wave of emotion. It wasn't supposed to end like this. Somewhere deep down, it felt wrong. Unfinished. Like a story cut off mid-sentence. George had always been obedient around her, soft-spoken, steady, never the type to walk away without a word. Her brows furrowed as a thought surfaced suddenly, sharp and unsettling. That night at the party, what really happened, she asked aloud. Why did George leave so abruptly? Did I say something when I was drunk? Did I do something I can't remember? Her friend turned to her with a stunned expression, eyes wide with disbelief. Seriously? Anna, who do you think could possibly outdrink you? Besides, she added, frowning, you already had an understanding with that assistant, your whole secret relationship thing. It wasn't like you were stringing him along without warning. The only thing you said that night was about Henry's mango allergy. You made a big scene over the fruit plate, and Henry said a few comforting words. That's it. Nothing major. It's not like George knew you were in love with Henry. Her friend paused for a moment, then narrowed her eyes, recalling something. Oh, right. After you found out about Henry's accident, you insisted on rushing to the hospital. George had to drag you back home, remember? But when I got to the hospital later, I didn't see him around. Did you two argue on the way? Anna pressed her fingers to her temples, trying to summon pieces of a night blurred by alcohol and emotion. But the more she tried to remember, the more her head throbbed in protest. Still, some part of her, instinct, maybe, told her it wasn't just about a fruit plate or a drunken tantrum. Something deeper had snapped that night. 6 years of companionship didn't just unravel over nothing. Not with George. Not with the way he had always been. Her mind wandered further back, to another night, 3 years ago. She had gotten too drunk after a long dinner event and dragged George back to her hotel room. They'd ended up sleeping together. All night. The next morning, George could barely stand. His legs trembled as he pulled on his clothes, moving in slow, stiff silence. But he didn't complain. Didn't accuse. Didn't retreat. Instead, he went out, quietly bought breakfast, and brought it back to her room with a soft smile, as if nothing had happened. As if it hadn't meant anything at all. And that's how it had always been between them, blurred lines, crossed boundaries, and a quiet loyalty she had never truly appreciated until now. As she fed him, George lost his balance and slumped into her arms. There was a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes, something that stirred a familiar ache in her chest, a feeling she thought she'd long buried. Memories came flooding back, and Anna couldn't help the faint smile tugging at the corner of her lips. Her friend glanced at her with a mix of confusion and disbelief, clearly baffled by her sudden shift in mood. Before she could sort through her own thoughts, Henry stirred awake. The moment he realized she wasn't by his side, he shuffled toward them. Anna? What are you doing out here? He said with a sleepy voice. I'm starving. Snapped back to the present, Anna immediately stepped forward to steady him, concern flooding her face. You shouldn't be out of bed yet, she said gently. You're still recovering. Come on, sit down, I'll call someone to bring food over. But Henry just grinned, effortlessly brushing off her worry. It's just a scratch, Anna. You're acting like I broke my leg. If I stay in that bed any longer, my muscles are gonna turn to mush. Then he added, with a teasing glint in his eye, why didn't you let me out of the hospital earlier? I wanted to go to the store. I rushed back and didn't even have a chance to do some shopping. I can't let myself appear in public in this image, I will ruin your image. His words struck a chord. Just like that, George's face flashed in her mind again. Back in the beginning, he used to tug at her arm the same way, playfully begging for a normal date, just a regular afternoon at the mall like any other couple. But at the time, all she could think about was the raw pain Henry had left behind. George's enthusiasm had felt like a burden. She'd brushed him off with some excuse about work being too hectic. And besides, they were keeping things private then, sneaking around like a secret neither of them dared to acknowledge. A public date at the mall? It felt too exposed, too risky. George had looked disappointed, but he didn't argue. And after that day, he never asked for anything again. Anna hadn't said a word in a while. Henry, growing impatient, waved a hand in front of her face. Hey, what's got you so deep in thought? He asked, raising a brow. You've changed since you got back. I don't know, something feels different about you. Before Anna could respond, her friend jumped in quickly, worried Henry might catch on to Anna's secret relationship with her assistant. Oh come on, what else could she be thinking about, she said with exaggerated cheer. Probably just planning some surprise for you, right, Anna? She gave Anna a nudge, signaling her to play along. Anna stayed quiet for a beat, then nodded faintly. You should head back and get some rest, she said calmly. There's still some work I need to finish at the office. I'll be back to eat with you once the food gets here. I'll walk her out, she added, glancing at her friend. No need to let her keep you from resting. Her friend rolled her eyes and grinned. Wow, already pushing me out the door, huh? Henry, you better keep an eye on her. Ever since she got herself a boyfriend, she's been ditching her bestie. Her teasing voice faded as the two of them walked toward the hospital entrance. Anna was just about to send her off with a casual wave when her friend pulled something from her purse, a cream-colored invitation card. Here, she said, handing her the invitation. The Collins wedding. We're talking about the wealthiest family on the Upper East Side. It took me a long time to get this invitation. Even if you can't make it to the dinner, at least show up and make some connections. Don't say I never thought of you. Anna raised an eyebrow. The Collins family? Do you mean Selena Collins? I thought she didn't want to get married anymore. What's with this sudden wedding? Her friend rolled her eyes again, this time with dramatic flair. Word is, it's a business arrangement. Not everyone can afford to live in a love bubble like you. Some people marry for strategy, you know. She leaned in, lowering her voice a notch. Let's go together. I hear this wedding has been 6 years in the making. It's supposed to be the social event of the season. A few years ago, Anna wouldn't have hesitated. She would have said yes without thinking twice. After all, expanding the company's business into Manhattan had been her dream ever since she took over the reins. But now, with George still missing and their relationship hanging in a murky gray zone, she didn't have the mental space for society weddings or networking games. I'm not going, she said flatly. You go ahead. And don't forget to follow up on what I asked you to look into. Her friend stepped back, throwing her a theatrical look of disbelief. You're kidding, right? You're really going to go looking for that assistant? What if Henry finds out? I'll keep it from him, Anna replied quietly. There are things I need to say to George, things I never got to finish. And it's been weighing on me. You're out of your mind, her friend muttered. Whatever. I'm done trying to talk you out of it. Do what you have to do. She turned and walked away, heels clicking briskly across the polished hospital floor. Anna didn't head back upstairs right away. Instead, she stepped out into the garden below, the early spring air cool against her skin. She lit a cigarette, hoping the nicotine would settle the restlessness coiling in her chest. But the smoke didn't bring her peace. It only conjured his face again, George's boyish grin flickering through the haze. She remembered the first time she saw him. He had just graduated from college, dressed in a cheap suit that couldn't hide the sharp symmetry of his features. He was standing quietly in a group of job applicants, waiting for his interview. And in that instant, her heart skipped a beat. Without a second thought, she'd pulled a staff member aside and said, "Keep that one. No matter what, he stays." To make the hire look legitimate, she paid a hefty sum to convince her then-assistant to resign quietly. Just like that, George walked into the company and straight into the executive suite, as her new personal assistant. The whispers had started immediately. Rumors swirled through the halls. But Anna didn't care. All she knew was, she wanted him close. But that boy had always kept his head down, quietly immersed in his work. He managed her calendar with precision, scheduled her meetings, and moved through the world like none of it truly touched him. Maybe it was the uncanny resemblance to Henry, those familiar angles of his face, that kept pulling her gaze back to him. She told herself it was coincidence, but her heart betrayed her long before she realized it. She started finding excuses to bring him along to business dinners and corporate events, always justifiable, always professional on the surface. But underneath, it was a slow, deliberate pursuit. Still, George remained distant, almost stubbornly so. No matter how many thoughtful gifts she gave, no matter how generous the bonuses, he politely declined them all. Determined to breach the wall he'd built, Anna orchestrated an elaborate plan. She reached out to a long-standing business partner and paid an outrageous sum, millions, just to stage a scene. At a high-profile dinner, she made a grand show of rejecting a lucrative deal, claiming George's discomfort with the client's ethics. The story spread like wildfire. Anna Morgan, the IC CEO who once crushed competition without blinking, had turned down a contract for the sake of her assistant. It became the stuff of boardroom gossip, a scandalous fairy tale whispered in corner offices and cocktail lounges. And finally, George relented. He accepted her feelings, on one condition. Their relationship had to remain secret, unseen by the world. For 6 years, they lived in that shadowed space between professional and forbidden. It wasn't just physical, their bond had seeped into every corner of her life. And God, how she craved him. Their chemistry was electric, intense, addictive. There was no shame in how deeply she desired him. She remembered watching him blush beneath her touch, that quiet boy with fire hidden behind his eyes, and feeling completely undone. The last time they were together had been his birthday. She had gone all out, renting out the rooftop of a luxury hotel just to see him smile. 9,000 roses filled the space, the scent heavy in the warm night air. There was a private candlelit dinner under the stars. And then, after dessert and champagne, she slipped onto his lap, her smile soft and sultry, her body already leaning into his. Beneath a blanket of starlight, their bodies moved in rhythm, tangled in heat and whispers, lost in a world that belonged only to them. She still remembered how George looked that night, flushed with emotion, his fingertips trembling as they traced up to her shoulder. His breath warm against her ear as he whispered, almost shyly, "Anna, I want to marry you. Will you be my bride? I don't want to be your boyfriend anymore. I want the whole world to know I love you." That one moment, so tender, so raw, had pierced straight through her defenses. And in the haze of that night, she had promised him everything. She told him she'd make it official, that she'd finally reveal his place in her life. But by morning, sobriety hit like cold steel. The truth was, she was lying to herself more than to him. And somewhere deep down, she knew it. Drowning in guilt, she went out and bought him a brooch, something elegant, personal, meant as a token of apology. She planned to give it to him, to say sorry for her hesitation, to make it right. But before she got the chance, Henry came back. And with him, the weight of everything she'd once buried surged to the surface, threatening to crack her from the inside out. For the first time, she realized just how deeply she'd wronged George, how much he had given, how little she'd dared to give back. Her fingers gripped her phone tightly as she began to type. She couldn't deny it, there was regret in her heart. Henry was back, yes. But that didn't mean she was ready to lose George too. If there was still a way to hold on, even in secret, she'd take it. Whatever conditions George laid down, she'd accept them all. She poured her heart into the message, line after line, confession and plea blending into one. But the moment she hit send, the screen went cold. Blocked. George had cut her off without a word. No warning. No second chance. Just silence. She tried again, emails, private messages, every platform she could think of. Nothing got through. No reply. No read receipts. Just a digital void swallowing every word she threw into it. The sting of rejection crashed over her in waves, bitter, helpless, devastating. By the time she noticed the cigarette had burned all the way to her fingers, it was the pain that jolted her out of the past. She flinched, dropped the stub, and looked up, only to see Henry's silhouette standing just behind her. Long fingers suddenly reached out and snatched her phone from her hand. Henry's smile was radiant, almost boyish. "What are you looking at? Come on, let me see too." Panic surged in Anna's chest. She immediately grabbed the phone back. "Nothing, just some business updates. You wouldn't be interested." She tried to keep her tone casual, even playful. "Why are you out here anyway? It's freezing, don't catch a cold." She took off her coat and draped it over his shoulders, brushing the chill from his skin. But Henry looked up at her with mock hurt in his eyes. "Anna, why are you being so cold? You never used to talk to me like this. I didn't come all the way back just to see you brush me off." Her heart skipped a beat. She opened her mouth, wanting to explain, anything to ease the tension. But staring at the man she'd loved for so many years, she felt nothing but exhaustion. The warmth she once had for him seemed to have drained away without her even noticing. The frustration and guilt tangled in her chest, and after a long pause, she simply said, "Work's just been hectic lately. Don't overthink it." Henry, sensing the distance, didn't push. He just pulled her into his arms gently, lowering his voice. "Then let me check out of the hospital early, yeah? Didn't you say you had a surprise planned for me?" There was something intimate in the way he said it, almost tender, laced with a hint of expectation. For a moment, the words, "marry me," nearly slipped from her lips. But she stopped herself. She knew exactly what Henry was hoping for. And deep down, she knew she couldn't give it to him. Instead, she just smiled faintly. Henry, sensing her hesitation, playfully started to tease her, nudging and bumping her like a child trying to coax attention. In the midst of their playful scuffle, something slipped out from inside her coat and fluttered to the ground. It was the wedding invitation. Henry picked it up and glanced at it, his expression lighting up with interest. "The Collins family wedding," he said with a grin. "I'd love to go. Do you think guys can catch the bouquet too? I heard whoever catches it ends up happily ever after." His meaning couldn't have been clearer. The implication hung heavy in the air, too obvious to ignore. And yet, the guilt pressing down on Anna made it impossible to say no. Henry finally broke into a full smile, gripping her hand with boyish enthusiasm as he pulled her toward the nurse's station. "I'm getting out of here," he announced, barely giving her a chance to object. Anna had no choice but to follow along as he led her straight to a nearby shopping mall. But as they wandered from store to store, everything around her seemed to echo with George's presence. That trench coat, he'd worn one just like it 2 years ago. Those tailored slacks, that was his favorite cut. Every aisle, every rack, every subtle detail felt like a ghost brushing past her. Still, Anna forced a smile and played along, pretending she was present, pretending she was fine. Then they passed a bridal boutique. And there it was, in the front window, a stunning, ethereal gown bathed in soft spotlight. Her breath caught. George's voice came back to her in a whisper, haunting and tender. "Anna, someday I'll wear that suit and marry you, okay? And you'll be the most beautiful bride this world has ever seen." Her composure shattered. She couldn't pretend anymore. Murmuring something about an emergency meeting at the office, she slipped away from the mall and disappeared. That night, Henry moved into the guest room, George's old room. Anna couldn't bring herself to be alone with him anymore. She avoided the quiet tension in the air, the unspoken pressure building between them. She knew what he was waiting for. He wanted her to finish what he'd started, to respond to his implied proposal. But she couldn't. Not when everything about that room still whispered George's name. So she moved into her office instead, burying herself in late-night meetings and empty spreadsheets just to stay numb. It wasn't until the night before the Collins family wedding that she finally re-emerged. She and her friend boarded a flight with Henry, heading toward the glittering chaos of Manhattan's social elite. On the plane, her friend buzzed with excitement, practically vibrating in her seat as she launched into a detailed history of the Collins family dynasty. "This is your shot, Anna," she said eagerly. "Play your cards right, and you might land a major contract. Show them you mean business." Then, after all the talk about strategy and partnership opportunities, her friend's tone softened a little. She leaned in conspiratorially. "And guess what? That bride, Selena Collins? Her life isn't as perfect as it looks. She's just like you," she added, lowering her voice. "A woman stuck on someone she couldn't have." Anna looked at her, unsure how to respond. "She's been waiting for this wedding for 6 years, her friend continued. 6 years, Anna. You know why? Because she was in love with a guy who never gave her anything back. Rumor has it, he's got a girlfriend now. But Selena had never given up. Every business deal, every collaboration, she'd handed over to the groom's family without hesitation. And any profits she could have kept for herself, she chose to share, never once trying to take more than her share. When he finally agreed to the wedding, she didn't hesitate. She went public immediately, announcing the engagement to the world with pride and urgency. Her unwavering devotion moved everyone. It was the kind of love story people wanted to believe in, a woman who waited 6 years and finally got her happy ending. Across the aisle, Henry looked utterly entranced, his face full of yearning as he listened. Every few minutes, he'd drop a subtle hint, about weddings, about happiness, about the future. But Anna pretended to be asleep, feigning rest just to avoid responding. It wasn't until Henry got up to use the restroom that she finally opened her eyes. She turned quickly to her friend, her voice low and urgent. "It's been a week," she said. "Still nothing on George?" Her friend's expression twisted, tension rising in her shoulders as she tried to pull her hand away. "There's something you need to know," she said cautiously. "But I'm not sure you're ready to hear it." Anna's stomach sank. Her friend hesitated, then delivered the blow. "Do you know who Selena's marrying?" Anna's brow furrowed. "Didn't you say it was the only son of the Rockefeller family?" "Yeah," she said softly. "His name is George. Your assistant, that George." Anna froze. The words didn't make sense at first. They hung in the air like static, deafening in their simplicity. "What?" she breathed, voice barely audible. The Rockefeller family spent the last few years expanding in France. Most of their domestic operations were handled by the Collins family. But now that they're back in the States. She paused, watching the color drain from Anna's face. George. George is the heir to the Rockefeller family. The phone slipped from Anna's fingers, landing silently in her lap. Her hands went limp, heavy, useless. It felt like the blood in her veins had turned to ice. No, this couldn't be real. He'd been just a fresh college graduate. A quiet, polished kid in a discount suit. If he'd been the Rockefeller heir, why would he ever work under her as a mere assistant? Why would he agree to a secret relationship, hidden in the shadows of her world? 6 years. 6 years of shared rooms, whispered promises, quiet nights and reckless passion, and she had never once seen the truth. Never once questioned who he really was. Her thoughts spiraled, and it must have shown on her face, because her friend gently reached out, like she could see the disbelief flooding through Anna. Her friend let out a quiet sigh, then finally said what Anna wasn't ready to hear. I know it doesn't make sense right now. I didn't get it either at first. But I did some digging. Turns out, the Rockefellers left the country years ago because George rejected the arranged marriage with the Collins family. That rejection embarrassed the Rockefellers so badly, they pulled out of the deal and relocated overseas. They couldn't bear to face the Collins family after that. She paused before continuing. When George turned down the match, the Rockefellers cut him off completely. Just abandoned him. Left him to fend for himself. If he hadn't suddenly agreed to the marriage now, I doubt the family would have ever returned to the States. She glanced over at Anna, her voice gentler now. I get it. This must be hard to swallow. Honestly, I used to think that assistant of yours was only with you for the money. But looking back, maybe he really loved you. Maybe that was all it ever was. Her eyes softened. But he's marrying someone else now. You've got your own life. You're talking about proposing to Henry. Maybe it's time to let the past go. Anna didn't remember how she got off the plane. By the time she came back to herself, she was already checked into one of the Collins family's luxury hotels. And right outside the building, hanging bold and proud across the facade, was a massive photo of Selina in her wedding gown, elegant, radiant, haunting. It cut into her like a blade. She couldn't tear her eyes away. Couldn't stop the ache blooming in her chest. George's smile flashed in her memory again, layered with every moment she thought had meant something. Henry was in the suite next door, knocking every few hours, asking her to come out and explore the city with him. She ignored every knock. She didn't have the strength to pretend anymore. Her phone buzzed, messages from her friend, worried reminders not to lose her composure at the wedding, urging her to keep it together in front of the Collins family. She didn't reply. Instead, she reached for the bottle of vodka on the nightstand. Poured a glass. Drained it in one breath. Let the burn settle in her chest, anything to silence the storm raging inside her. The next morning, she finally saw him. The man she'd thought about every sleepless night, the one whose face haunted every quiet corner of her mind. George stood in the hotel's grand hall, calm and composed. And when his eyes landed on her, there was nothing behind them. No flicker of emotion. No trace of the 6 years they'd shared. It was as if those years had existed only in her memory, never in his. Her friend stayed close, keeping a watchful eye on her, steadying her every time her emotions threatened to break through. Anna sat in silence among the guests, holding herself together by the thinnest thread. And there he was, her lover, her secret, her undoing, now standing beside another woman. She watched as George gently wrapped his arm around Selina's shoulders. Watched him slide the ring onto her finger. Watched him speak vows he once whispered to Anna in the dark. She watched him thank the guests with the same poised smile he used to save just for her. And she broke, quietly, invisibly. When the ceremony ended and the crowd began to disperse, she finally found a sliver of opportunity. She slipped away, searching for him, one last time. She found him near the restrooms, where guests were passing in and out, laughter echoing down the marble hallway. But she didn't see anyone else. Her eyes locked onto him, and in that moment, he was all she could see. George, her voice cracked, low and hoarse. I. But before she could finish, he turned toward her with a gentle, distant smile. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. And I wish you a happy wedding, too. The words struck her like a slap. Her breath caught. Is this really what you want? She asked, her voice trembling. You're really marrying her, willingly? She stepped closer, desperate, her voice barely steady. George, say the word. I'll take you away from all this. I'll go public about us. Whatever she's offering you, I'll give you more. All of it. I curled my lips and smiled, but my eyes were red unconsciously. Take me away from here? Make our relationship public? What about Henry? What about Henry, the man you've loved for 6 years? His voice was calm, but the pain underneath it was unmistakable. I'm not a kid anymore, Anna, he said quietly. I've known all along, you love him. You always have. Whether you believe it or not, George said softly, I've let go of everything that happened between us. And I hope you can do the same, step out of the past and start living again. He paused, his voice steady but faintly bruised. That day, in your office, I heard everything. The conversation you had with your friend. I saw the photo you'd hidden away. I know all about you and Henry. His gaze held hers for a moment, calm and unwavering. When I first found out the truth, yeah, I hated you. But hate only comes from love. And I don't love you anymore. His voice was quiet, final. So there's nothing left to hate. We were something once, but today, let's call this what it is, a goodbye. And with that, he turned and walked away. Anna leaned against the wall behind her, her knees buckling as she slowly slid to the floor. Her breath trembled in her chest, eyes wide and hollow, as if all the air had been sucked from the room. Moments later, Henry appeared, his face glowing with excitement, a bouquet of fresh flowers in his hands. "Anna, look," he said, holding them up with a smile. "I caught the bouquet. That means I'm the next groom." His eyes sparkled with hope. "We can have a wedding just like this one, right? Big, beautiful, just for us." Anna looked up at him, finally seeing him clearly. For years, she had believed the two men looked almost identical. But now, staring into Henry's face, she realized something bone deep. They didn't look alike at all. Not in the ways that mattered. Her voice cracked as she spoke, raw and stripped of pretense. "These 6 years. I fell in love with someone else," she said. "I'm sorry." Henry's expression collapsed. Tears welled at the corners of his eyes, slipping down his cheeks and soaking into the collar of his shirt. He reached out, trying to hold on to her hand, to stop her from slipping away. But she stepped back, cold, resolute. And she let go. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Henry's voice cracked, panic rising. "You promised me. You said you'd wait for me to come back." "Well, I'm back now," he pleaded, stepping closer. "I'm not leaving again. I even booked the proposal venue, everything was set. How can you just change your mind like this? I don't accept it." Anna froze for a moment, eyes narrowing. "The proposal venue?" she asked, her voice cold. "How do you even know about that?" Then she shook her head, a bitter smile tugging at her lips. "Forget it. I don't need an explanation. That place was never meant for you. Just consider it a misunderstanding." She looked him square in the eyes, every word slicing clean. "Henry, no one stays frozen in time waiting for someone to come back. You walked away, and when you did, you should have known life would move on. 6 years changes a lot. You're not the man you used to be. And I'm not the woman you left behind." Her voice softened, but it didn't lose its edge. "I can't pretend to feel something I don't just to make you happy. That would be cruel. To you and to myself." Henry bit down on his lip so hard it broke the skin, blood beating along the edge. "I don't care," he shouted, voice thick with desperation. "You loved me once, if we stay together, you'll fall in love with me again. You will. Anna, this time, I won't leave you." But she didn't even glance back. She turned and walked straight out of the hotel. Outside, the sky had broken open, rain pouring in sheets, soaking her gown in seconds. She didn't stop. Didn't flinch. She just kept walking, her vision blurred by water, by heartbreak, by everything she no longer had the strength to carry. And somewhere behind her, that once familiar voice faded into the distance. The man she had loved. The promises she'd once made. The future she never kept. Someone else would take her place now. Someone else would finish what she couldn't.